I'm sure he'll be returning the favour before the season is out. I wonder if Chelsea are onto something here. Not just two great talents, but also two great friends playing together. I mean, can you imagine playing with Gary all your career?
Gary and Phil, yeah. No, but it looks like a real genuine friendship. You'd always feel like two strikers, they're always looking after themselves maybe, or people at the top end of the pitch. But I genuinely do think that, you know, they will be setting each other up all season, scoring goals and not taking too much into it about who's got the goals or the assists.
Xabi Alonso, doing all that really he could hope for with Chelsea tonight, getting that first victory at Craven Cottage first up. Your question, Gary, to him about the goalkeeper. He's got Mike Penders there, who's in reserve as well, and was at Strasbourg last season, and he's a young goalkeeper, I think 21. A lot is talked about him being the successor. Would you have expected him to answer that question differently that you asked him?
No, I mean, look, I felt like I had to ask the question about the goalkeeper and couched it in such a way, which obviously, because we saw him speaking to him at the end and sort of put his arm around him. It's undeniable. Look, Xabi Alonso's been brought in as the manager of the football club, not as the coach. And when you're managing a football club, and I know from the manager that I played under, you have to make some pretty brutal and ruthless decisions. And they've strengthened in every single position on the pitch. In the forward areas, they've brought brilliant players in. They've brought Danny Welbeck and his experience in midfield. They've obviously got Jordan Henderson that's coming along with obviously very good players already in there. And they've got defenders that have come in. You cannot take a chance with the goalkeeper. I've said before, it's the most difficult position on the pitch. It's the one that carries the most scrutiny. It's the one that if you have got a goalkeeper that's making mistakes and is anxious, it will undermine everything that you're trying to do. And I think in the next 7 or 8 days, Xabi Alonso may have to just make a decision that he needs to bring in an experienced goalkeeper, because his job is to be successful for Chelsea. And it may be that he sticks with Robert Sanchez, but I think he has to protect himself.
Well, we're not saying anything we haven't said for the last 2 or 3 seasons. Unfortunately, listen, he's consoling them, but Chelsea will never win the league with Sanchez in goal. Impossible, it can't happen. And you think of the teams who've won the title, the last 3 teams who've won the title have all changed the goalkeeper. So you think of Pep bringing Ederson in. Now, Joe Hart had won the league, but he made a decision. This goalkeeper's not for me.
Bravo in first, and then he was brutal with him.
So he brings Ederson in. It makes a big difference to win the league. Alisson comes in for Liverpool. Liverpool win the league. Arsenal don't win the league if they have Ramsdale in goal, not Raya. Impossible. So one of the biggest reasons why Arsenal won the league last year was Raya. They wouldn't have won the league without him. You can go back through history. Every team who wins the league have got, I would say, 99 times out of 100, the manager has made a big decision in terms of, right, I need to go and get my goalkeeper who can win me the league.
So why would he not, Gary?
No, Dave, look, I've got experience of this. We had in my first period in my career at United, we had Peter Schmeichel in net for 6 or 7 years. And the difference is enormous. And then we had a period of about 4 or 5 years where we think we only won maybe 1 league in maybe 5 seasons, when Jose, Arsene Wenger, Rafa Benitez were at Liverpool as well. But it was that period where it was really tough. And we had a mixture of goalkeepers in and around that time that were very good goalkeepers. But it's a massive personality, it's a massive character, it's a brilliant goalkeeper that wins a Premier League title or a league title. And then we brought Edwin van der Sar in and everything felt normal again. And I just think that back line of Chelsea's isn't perfect, but I think if they've got a goalkeeper behind them that's making them slightly more nervous, it's going to be a bigger problem and exacerbate it. And I'm saying this quite calmly because we're talking about a human being here, but the reality of it is Chelsea do need a goalkeeper. And it's one thing that I'm surprised that they've not dealt with in this transfer window, because it has been coming this for a couple of years. We've said goalkeeper, we've said centre-back, and we've said some experience down the spine, haven't we? And he's dealt with most things, but that's the last piece, I think. Because
clearly they have so much quality now at the top end of the pitch. Jamie, you just said one of the best top threes, front threes, that's now in the Premier League. But it wasn't interesting to hear from Cole Palmer there, talking about the emotion that he felt this summer and the hunger that perhaps he's got back for the game that maybe went missing last season.
Yeah, maybe. Listen, he'll look for reasons why it didn't happen for him. I always think it's difficult to play really well or at your best when the team's really struggling. So, you know, Chelsea finished 10th last season, so probably not an easy environment to be at your absolute best. But I felt in his first 18 months at Chelsea, couple of years, he was good as anybody in the Premier League at that time. And he's had a drop-off for the last 12 months, maybe a little bit more. But there's certain things players do, and I think special players do. Don't forget, he scored in a final for England when he came off the bench. He absolutely took PSG apart, who were the best team in the world by a mile. 12 months ago, was it? Or maybe a little bit more. In the Club World Cup. Didn't just, like, score a goal against them. Was the best player on the pitch by a mile. That lad, for me, talent-wise, is as good as anybody in this country. And he was the one where when you look at Thomas Tuchel's squad, there was lots of claims about certain players. He was the one that I thought he needs to go. He should have been taken.
Gary, what will Thomas Tuchel think watching this tonight? Because no doubt he will be.
He made a decision. Look, maybe it's the best thing that's ever happened to Cole Palmer, because maybe his career is just drifting a little bit and he gets a massive kick up the backside. And sometimes, my dad used to say it to me, sometimes you need a kick up the backside and a reminder in life that you've got to basically retain that hunger every single minute of every single day. And there's points in your career. I had a point midway through my career where I just sort of, my form dropped off for about a year and a half, and all of a sudden you get a reality check and you realise things don't come easy and you've got to maintain that standard. And that tonight was the old Cole Palmer that we were used to seeing a couple of years ago or a year or so ago, and he's unbelievable to watch. It is brilliant to see a player. That's the best performance I've seen all weekend. It makes you smile every time you watch someone like that, and he's a brilliant player.
2017, the last time Chelsea got their hands on the Premier League trophy. Could it happen again under Xabi Alonso? Maybe that's getting a little bit carried away, but they certainly started well. 31 seconds in, Gary.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe what Fulham were doing. I just couldn't believe how split their centre-backs were and making things difficult for yourself. I mean, and then, look, he gets pressed on that side. And then, obviously, if Chelsea win the ball back, all of a sudden, those three narrow forwards for Chelsea, this is brilliant from Cole Palmer, they're in a perfect position to exploit it and counter-attack. Look, the first touch from João Pedro is amazing. We'll see it again from this angle. But look, I think splitting your centre-backs, I don't think Gerard Piqué and Puyol back in sort of 2009 with that split, and they could play. So, yeah, that was the surprise, but what a finish. The touch from Cole Palmer, this first touch from João Pedro now.
How about this for the first touch this season, I think, that.
And then the little look up, the dink, absolutely beautiful goal. But
He's a player, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
15 goals last season, you wonder how many he will get.
He should have been in that interview with Cole Palmer and Morgan Rogers, João Pedro, because he deserved to be. He was good.
Didn't have enough room in the interview area. This is where you think the goalkeeper is an issue, Jay?
Yeah, we know that, it's obvious. But what's interesting is Chelsea's setup. That's why I asked Xabi Alonso, because they weren't too scared to drop into that deep block. 5-4-1. We speak about the system before the game, what he did at Leverkusen, but it's quite evident there. It was 5 players in the back. Now, whether that was to do with the wing-backs that he had was sort of really out-and-out defenders, and the goalkeeper's got to do a lot better, but we don't need to go over that again. It was just interesting getting that sort of tactical sort of answer from Xabi Alonso and what they looked to do early on, pressed them high, but after that they were more than prepared to sit back on the lead that they had.
If you just said before the game that a Xabi Alonso team would have less possession than our below team, you'd been surprised, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly, and that's probably where that stems from. But listen, we're getting used to the 2 new managers in the Premier League. But
do you think this is a coaching thing, that the centre half goes like this?
Not so much. I just think he's passed and he's followed it forward. But listen, you're talking about quality players,
In a back three, though.
Yeah, they make movements off each other.
And a back three, Dave, you can do that. Yeah. Played it under Glenn Hoddle with England. He used to say one of the centre-backs in the back three, more than happy to step in. And when you step in, carry on going, and that's what he does. I mean, that take of the ball on the half turn on the back foot from Cole Palmer's absolutely sensational.
This is the invitation that Morgan Rogers wanted, wasn't it?
Yeah.
On his debut.
When you're talking about Cole Palmer before, I think that's a great sight in football when you can see someone let the ball roll across the body. Miles Lewis-Skelly does it all. Brilliant. Love seeing it.
What's happening here?
This is a 3-1, I think.
Yeah, no, 3-1. But I mean, you were both exasperated by the defending at this point.
Yeah, I mean the 2 centre-backs split again. I think that's Sander Berg who's gone back with them. And then the defender who's initially with Cole Palmer, I think it's Cuenca, doesn't actually follow him. So you see there...
Yeah, Castagne's gone in, and then Bassi's gone in. I mean, that's Sander Berg, the central midfield player, actually sweeping up at the back.
But then Cuenca, who's actually with Cole Palmer, just lets him run back. I don't know how they think Cole Palmer's not going to have a free shot at goal. I mean, really naive defending all night from Fulham. It'd be really interesting going forward whether Fulham or, Arbeloa actually alters things and tweaks things, because that, I think everyone will be watching at home thinking you can get at Fulham.
But if you're looking for positives for Fulham, Gary, they didn't give up and they showed plenty of fight.
Yeah, and Oscar Bob, Josh King,
Gonzalo Garcia,
and they were lively at times and they were bright and they got a little bit of encouragement. They tried to play. I mean, that's obvious. I mean, the trying to play at times cost them. But yeah, they can take the fact that they scored 2 goals away. They'll play a lot worse teams than Chelsea. I think that just bouncing back off, obviously, Sanchez and
Listen, the goalkeeper's got to do better, but Colwell's got to do better as well. And that was a little problem for Chelsea in the second half. They found it difficult to to deal with direct play and balls over the top, and Fulham caused them a few problems. It could have easily got something from the game.
It was that big moment at 3-2, which meant it could have actually ended level this. Anthony Robinson, who we know loves to rampage down the left-hand side, Jamie.
Yeah, he does. For a lot of the game, he was finding himself left wing, the way Alvaro would set the team up. But this goes back to something I mentioned throughout the second half of Chelsea. They just seem to struggle with balls over the top. I mean, if it's on his other foot, it's probably, the equaliser, isn't it? And, they get out of the game probably with a point. But, yeah.
Gary said we're going to play that way, whatever happens. And I think you were both, as former defenders, quite alarmed at times to see the distance between the two centre-halves. And bearing in mind that one isn't terribly comfortable on that right side, that was forced to play there tonight. What do you think of that? Is it brave?
No, I think
foolish?
We're used to coaches now playing in a very different way than we played, which is to split the centre-backs, to play them very deep, sometimes on the 6-yard box. What we've seen in the last couple of years is them quite narrow, though, haven't we, closer to the goalkeeper. So at least if they have to knock it long, they can push up and they're in the central positions. It's a long time. I mean, I remember the first time I ever saw full-back split that deep was, I think it was Yaya Toure and Gerard Piqué in the 2009 Champions League final against United, in Pep Guardiola's first Champions League winning season, and he literally split them to the centre, but they weren't that wide. But they're world-class players, world-class team with Messi and Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets. This is Fulham, who've got very good players, but they're playing against Chelsea. I don't see the rewards that you're going to get for splitting your centre-backs into those positions. Bassi, Bassi's there, left footer in the right channel. What benefit do you have in being there? So I'm not sure the rewards are there for the risk that it brings, and the risks tonight have been... Well,
and also what you've got to remember, not just tonight, is this is the first time people at home or, coaches, managers watching
Sunderland
Fulham.
next.
Was watching Sunderland. So straight away you're going, oh. And I always think, whenever you were a team or you're setting up and you want to press, one of the triggers to press is a long ball or a switch of play. And when the ball goes a long distance, that's sort of your key. As soon as the ball gets switched, we all get over. And because that difference is so great, when that ball gets shifted over, that'll be a trigger for people to go. It won't change.
And it is indeed prediction time on Monday Night Football. But before we hear from Gary and Jamie on their picks, we're actually going to take you to what the fans think is likely for them this season. So remember, these are fans voting on their own clubs, and we've taken as an average where they see their finishing position. And only Arsenal fans think they will win the league, with Manchester City in second place. Liverpool, Man United and Chelsea fans all think their team is likely to finish third, with Villa fifth. Spurs fans feeling bullish. I should say that this was before the weekend that people were voting. So Spurs is 6, 81% think that. Brentford to build on last season with a 7th place finish. Forest climbing up to 8th. Bournemouth and Everton 9th, and Leeds into the top half in 10th. So what about the bottom? Well, the good news is that no one's getting relegated this season. But that was the same as last year. Nobody thought they were going down last year either. And unfortunately, 3 did. So Hull fans think they'll finish 17th. Coventry and Ipswich both have themselves at 16th. With Sunderland, Newcastle, Brighton, Fulham and Crystal Palace making up that bottom half. I'm surprised by Brighton, actually. I thought Brighton fans might be a bit more optimistic than that. But Sunderland and Newcastle tied in 11th. We will see. They'll be fighting for position all year, no doubt. So, Arsenal to be champions, say the Arsenal fans. What do Jamie and Gary think? And we didn't make them vote before the weekend. We've let them watch all the football across the weekend to see if anything would change. So, let's start with the champions. Jamie, who are you going for?
Yeah, I mean, a few weeks ago I thought City might have a chance, maybe, because I thought Arsenal might be thinking a lot about the Champions League and City would be desperate to get that trophy back. But it was all around Rodri. I think if Rodri stayed, I could maybe make a case for them, but without Rodri, I just can't see it.
Gary?
100% Arsenal. I know when we say this, Arsenal fans think that we're somehow sort of applying pressure to them, but they're way out in front. They really are right now, and the squad that they've sort of assembled, the signings of Konza and Guimaraes and Solis, and maybe one more coming in the next week. what a squad they have.
If they didn't get that one more, would you be hedging your bets a little bit?
No, I think they're fine. I mean, they've got still loads of options in forward areas. I know that Jay makes a good point on Friday night about they haven't got the one with the Stardust, but if they get the one with the Stardust, then they're just going to be further ahead. But I think with what they've got already now in defence and in midfield, with the sort of good attackers that they've got of a really good standard, then they're fine.
All right, so who's finishing second, third and fourth? Who's getting closest to Arsenal? We've got a little bit of variation. So Jamie's gone City to be second with Chelsea and Liverpool. Gary's gone Chelsea second with City and guess who? United. So first of all, Gary, you think Chelsea are next best. Why?
Just purely because of the fact that they've got no European football. And I think that if they keep Enzo, and they can keep Enzo and Caicedo in midfield with that front three, and they're only playing 45 games, and they can play in the Carabao Cup the rest of the squad players, they're going to amass an enormous amount of points based upon the fact that they're going to have more free weeks, not going to have the injury pressures, they're not going to have the travelling that comes with European football and the sort of mental fatigue that comes with that, and I just think they'll just edge past Manchester City.
I felt that you were tinkering between City and Chelsea as next best.
I wasn't quite... Listen, Man City are better than Chelsea, but as Gary said, the European factor can play a huge part. We saw Manchester United last season. You go back maybe 10, 15, I don't know how long it is now, where Brendan Rodgers' Liverpool almost won the league title. A lot of that was on the back of not having European football. So it gives them a big lift, Chelsea. I'm like that, and just, I think probably at the last moment, having watched them tonight, even though they've won, I mean, the goalkeeper, and some of the issues they had at the back as well, I'd say, I'd just go for Man City.
Why do Manchester United have the advantage over Liverpool?
Look, do you want me to be honest?
Yes.
I can't separate United and Liverpool in fourth place. I genuinely have no idea.
He tells me you've changed it 4 times over the weekend. So after United played, he changed it to Liverpool.
Well, no,
after Liverpool
do you know
played,
something? A couple of weeks ago, I had United in third. I didn't have Chelsea where they were, but as you sort of get nearer to the season, you start to look at the squads and you start to think about it. You think about Chelsea and the fact they've got no European football. That'll give them a big edge. I think City are in a better position than United. Look, at the moment, I'm not convinced by United or Liverpool, really, but I do think they'll finish 4th and 5th. I've just gone United 4th, just purely because I'm a United fan.
Would that be success, do you think?
I would take 4th place now and a cup.
Do you think the Chiefs would?
I think they would, yeah, because, I mean, to cope with European football, the big question at the end of last season was, can Manchester United, can Michael Carrick do this when they've got European football? So to finish 4th with European football and maybe do well in a cup, that would be a fantastic season, I think. And that's not being defeatist, that's just where we're at right now.
You had lots more questions about Liverpool after your analysis earlier on, Jamie. Would 4th be reasonable for Andoni Iraola first time round?
I think these want more, but I think just looking at the Chelsea situation, Liverpool where they are right now, the transfer window's got a week to go. Who knows what's going to happen in the next week? He could maybe change its tune and maybe say, could they sneak into the top 3? But I don't see any way they'd be in the top 2, and I don't see any way they can mount a title challenge. So a little bit of what Gary's just said there. If you said to me now as a Liverpool fan, you'll have Champions League football, or you'd be in the top 4 or 5. And you could win a cup, I'd shake on that right now.
How far have you got Liverpool ahead of Manchester United then?
One place.
He's not that confident. He's not that confident.
One place, there we go.
I mean, watching Liverpool on Sunday, I was worried watching it. But
would you not be more worried watching Manchester United at Hull?
Dave, if we're being honest, the teams that are below Arsenal right now are of a standard that has been as low as we've seen probably in the last 6-7 years. Let's be clear. If we're being honest,
but do you think any of these teams are actually ready? I mean, post World Cup with the transfer window still open.
We've had some of the best managers in the world in the last 7 or 8, 9 years in the Premier League managing these clubs. We've got a lot of new managers. Mikel Arteta's gone from being the apprentice in the last few years, lots of questions about him and doubts. Now he's the master. And obviously then there's old managers that are behind him in terms of sort of trying to prove themselves. So we're in a position of transition with the managers that are in these clubs, with the squads that these clubs have had. And there's not at the standard that we've seen in the last few years, but it makes it interesting, it makes it intriguing. They're all going to get beat, they're all going to beat each other, they're all going to lose points and drop points. And that's what we want in the Premier League. We don't want it to be perfect.
I think a good point to make is the best players in the world, unfortunately, still don't come to the Premier League. We've had some great players, and we've lost two absolute superstars in the last couple of years in Salah and Kevin De Bruyne. But in the main, we always know they go to Barcelona and Real Madrid. The worry is some of the top players now are at Bayern Munich, they're at Paris Saint-Germain. I go back to the World Cup semi-finals. And if you think of all of those four teams, and they are the four top teams in the world, if you think of the attacking players for all of those teams, so Argentina, England, Spain and France, there was only Morgan Rogers from the Premier League who started the semi-final. I thought that was a bit of a worry. But as Gary said, in the past, what's masked that is the managers. We haven't got those managers right now. And this is almost like going back to about 2015-16 when we had an influx of new managers. But those managers were Pep, Conte, Klopp.
Pochettino.
Pochettino was around at that time, yeah. So a lot of teams have got new managers, but they're not at the level of those yet. They might go on to do that, but they're not big beasts. They're not sort of Champions League winners. We haven't got that.
Who knows what Xabi Alonso, for example, is going to grow into. But do you think the best attacking players, perhaps, as you're saying, don't come here because the physicality that this league has got right now?
Well, that was
the toughest league, arguably.
Yeah, and listen, I did a newspaper article about Florian Wirtz. I know we've analysed him tonight, but my point was at the weekend was that Liverpool obviously desperate for him to succeed, but in some ways the Premier League needs him to succeed. We need those flair players, we need those attacking players. We don't want this league to be seen as probably it was a little bit last season of like power, set pieces, players like that can't sort of come to fruition in the Premier League. Listen, he's got to do that himself. But I think when you look at some of those players around Europe who are playing for Bayern Munich, are playing for PSG, are playing for Real Madrid and Barcelona, it's probably a lot easier than playing in the Premier League every week, probably a lot less competitive, and they're probably getting better numbers.
Yeah. Right, so where we got to? We've got to 6th. Remember what Spurs fans were saying. They are pretty confident they are finishing 6th. Jamie agrees. Gary doesn't. Go on, Gary.
Yeah, I think this was a late change.
Did you have Spurs there originally then?
No, I had Brighton 6th and I had Brighton as European. It's been a long weekend, Dave.
Even though they're in Europe this season.
Have you ever got that 7 o'clock train from Newcastle to London?
You do very well. Let me make it easy for you then. Why don't you think Spurs will finish top 6?
I don't trust them yet. I don't think that they're... sometimes you look at that Spurs squad and you think, they've spent a lot of money, and I was over the summer thinking quite exciting for Spurs fans. They're finally splashing the cash, but then I look at the team and I think, where's it all gone? And, maybe they have to sign the players this week, and I think that'll happen and that'll strengthen them, Savino and Marmoush, and that'll make them a lot better. But I just don't know whether they'll pull it together, and that's the question. So I know Brighton are a good unit. They're reliable, they're consistent. And I think Brentford and Brighton, and I could have put Brentford in there as well, by the way, I think those two teams this season may just get in there because they're consistent and they know what they're doing and they're well-drilled. And a well-organised, well-drilled team, I think, will beat a team of talented players who, to be fair, are still trying to find their way.
Yep, they could force their way into the Conference League. They're not quite there yet. Brighton, one to keep an eye on. European contenders. Gary has put Spurs in that category. Brentford, who missed out on goal difference last season, Jamie, and I guess what this tells us is that you think they're here to stay effectively. Yeah,
I've been really impressed with what Keith Andrews has done at Brentford last season. A lot of people say, and there may be something in it, that when you're managing a club like Brentford, which is so well run behind the scenes in the hierarchy, it makes it easier for the manager. Of course it does, probably does make it easier, but watching them this weekend, watching them last season, all the talk this summer feels like Spurs have almost been, the big name in town basically all summer, and to beat them the way they did, and of course when you talk about other teams like a Brighton, they have got European football this season. Brentford haven't. So I think that will be a big plus point for, and that's why I went for Spurs in 6, because it's not just not playing the games. Surely it means you're going to have a lot less injuries as well when you haven't got European football. So, you can normally keep your team together solid week after week. And I really love watching them play. And for me, that was the best performance of the weekend, Brentford.
But Aston Villa, of course, who are playing the Champions League this season, nowhere to be seen in those predictions.
It's a mystery to me what is going on there. I looked at that team yesterday that Unai Emery had to field and the substitutes bench, and I've got a lot of love for Aston Villa and Unai Emery. What's going on?
Well, remember they had a really slow start to last season as well.
No, I know.
Scored in the first 5 games.
No, but this is very different, Dave. You know, when you think about what's left, Luka Digne, Tielemans, Rodgers, Konza.
Maybe Ollie Watkins.
That squad's been obliterated of its experience. I talk of Emi Martinez, who's a massive personality, by the way. Don't underestimate the value that he has. And then how are they going to even think to compare? Look, Unai Emery is an unbelievable coach and he gets the best out of teams, but I'm really worried for Villa. I don't know what's going on.
The average age was also 29 for Aston Villa last year, so did it need some surgery at some point?
Yeah, listen, there's always this talk, isn't there, around the PSR with Aston Villa. No, and I know it frustrates the supporters and they get ripped apart, and then they look at Spurs finishing 17 2 years running, and they go and spend 100 million on Tonali. So it must be a frustration for them, and whether these rules in the future will be tweaked or changed or whatever it may be. But it does feel like teams like, I think probably even Newcastle in the last couple of years and Aston Villa, they got to a certain point and you just can't go any further.
Right, we're about relegation clubs, Gary. Do you see any of the promoted sides surviving?
I hope that one of them or two of them stay up. I've not got the faith that I had last season. The last season, if you remember the first weekend of the season, we did Leeds game, didn't we, against Everton? It was really positive. And then obviously Sunderland, we saw them beat West Ham. And I just thought there's no way they're going down, Sunderland. But having watched what I've seen this weekend, I'm going to go for the three promoted teams to go down. But I do think, I'm not going to go too early on my relegation risk. But watching Fulham tonight, that's a risk. That's a big risk. Young players, splitting your centre-backs like that, being open. We'll know a little bit more after they go to Sunderland next weekend to see if they adapt. But you've gone Sunderland down, by the way. Wow.
Yeah, go on. Have a go at him for that.
I don't see that. But I mean,
well, if you did, you would have done it.
No, but where's that come from?
Well, the fact that they've got European football, so they're going to be playing a lot
positive.
Pardon?
There's a positive.
Well, we'll see.
Feel-good factor.
Well, they're going to be doing a lot of Thursday, Sunday, and I think Sunderland last season reminded me a little bit of Sheffield United under Chris Wilder, where they came up and they had a really brilliant season, finished high up the table. But a lot of the games, like Sunderland, where you win by the odd goal, I'm not saying to luck, but sometimes you just win by the odd goal. I always think a team, then, if they start flipping the other way, and you maybe lose it by the odd goal, and there's very little in the performance, and when you look at their underlying numbers last season, their underlying numbers were had them not far away from relegation. And I just think with the European football, I think that could be a problem for them.
Yeah, and look, it's unfair to judge Coventry on Friday night because they're playing against the best team by a mile, and that was a horrific start for them in terms of a fixture. So I wouldn't judge that. And likewise, Hull are just a massive experience beating Manchester United. I won't pay too much attention to that, and the Ipswich win against Sunderland. So there's a long way to go, but I couldn't get to any of the three teams. I think that Fulham and Palace are the ones that I think I'd be most worried about. I'm not that concerned about Sunderland right now as I sit here, but...
Go on then, let's have a look at relegation risks.
And I had Fulham before this game.
Oh, sorry, I read two. I forgot to nail it down.
So you're right. I think those two are the ones that I would have picked. And to be fair, I was moving between. I picked Fulham this morning before this game tonight. That's not a late change. Obviously, young manager, young forwards, lost all their goals. All the hallmarks of risk are there with Fulham.
And Crystal Palace added to that mix.
They haven't had a great pre-season. That hasn't gone particularly well for them. They lost the first game at Everton, which, to be fair, they were actually very unlucky. When you actually look at the chances they had in the first half.
Two, I think.
Yeah, they probably should have got something from the game. They've still kept Adam Wharton, who's probably the best player.
I'd say he's not going anywhere.
No, he's not going to go anywhere. But then I go back to the European football again. They're going to go into the Europa League as well. I know they've done Europe last season, but new manager, new in the Premier League, lost a few players, still in Europe. Yeah, I'd probably go Crystal Palace would have a scare.
So you're going Crystal Palace?
I'm going Crystal Palace. Take Fulham off.
Thank you.
OK. Top scorer. Let's see if there's any surprises. No. Well done, Erling. Congratulations. Do you like his new haircut?
I love it.
It's good, isn't it?
My mum doesn't like it.
What was he doing yesterday with that missed chance? Did you not see it?
Yeah, I did feel it was
he didn't know whether he was going to head it.
He's lost his power.
I just thought it was one of them where he just goes, it's a stunning one, that.
Impact signing. Jamie's gone Fernandes of Spurs, presumably.
Yeah, I really liked him last season at West Ham, and I thought, to be honest, I thought I thought there might be another few teams in for him, really, and if they got a better team than Spurs in terms of Spurs were 17th last season and probably looking to get top 6. I thought maybe someone a little bit higher would have taken him.
They wanted him. I mean, I think United wanted both Tonali and Fernandes, but I think the money was rising at such a level and the wages were rising at such a level that they just bowed out. Similarly with Anderson, I think the fee was big. Also, I think he wanted to go to City. But I think United wanted all those 3 players, but they just decided that I think...
So United can't afford the big boys no more?
But I think the problem with United was that because of... I mean, I'm not saying that they would have relied on Ugarte, but because Ugarte gets injured, they then end up in a situation where they've got 1 midfield player, so they need 3. So let's say you've got 150 million, 160 million for 3. If you blow 95 million on 1, you're not going to get the other 2 that you need. So I think United had to make a decision to sort of remove themselves from the Fernandes and Tonali. I think they're good players, but they were massive fees.
What do you think the impact of Bruno Guimaraes at Arsenal will be then?
I think it's the best signing by a mile.
It's a shame he wasn't playing Friday, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the best signing by a mile. The one risk that Arsenal have, if you take a player out of Arsenal's team anywhere, probably Raya's the other one, but in the outfield parts of the pitch, there isn't a drop-off between the first and second choice anywhere, apart from Declan Rice. There's a massive drop when Declan Rice moves out of the team. So if Declan Rice gets injured for 3 months, that would be a risk to Arsenal. The signing of him removes that risk. He is a massive personality, different player than Declan Rice, but you talk about the personality and character on the pitch. We talk about no leaders, no players who are sort of massive personality and character. He is a brilliant personality and character. He believes he can win every single football match for his team. He believes he can tackle. He's aggressive. He's somebody you'd want alongside you. I think he's an amazing signing. And by the way, 75 million, compared to some of the others that have gone for more, is value, I think, in this market.
Is he getting a cut of the agent's fee? Wow. He's 28.
It's interesting because Arsenal spent money on a couple of 28-year-olds.
He's 29. He's 28 before he's 29.
He's 28, but what we say, he's old. He's his peak,
29
isn't he?
isn't he?
I mean, what I'm saying, you're signing a player.
You're not getting that money back, are you?
But what I'm saying to you, we're talking about replacing Declan Rice here. You're not talking about a 21-year-old. We talk about a player who can go into that team in the best chance. You don't want to win the Champions League in the Premier League. That's where Arsenal want to be. You can't bring a 21-year-old in or a 20-year-old in to replace Declan Rice. You've got to bring someone in who's ready. So, Manchester United, over the years, they signed some experienced players at times to be able to cope with the demands. Signed Teddy Sheringham at the age of 32, 33 as a third and fourth striker.
No, you didn't. You signed him to replace Cantona.
31.
You signed him to replace Cantona.
He was 31.
I know, but you signed him to replace Cantona.
But you can't replace Cantona with a 21-year-old or a 15-year-old.
You
could. My point is, you sign experienced players sometimes to replace players who you know. And I'm sure Liverpool may sign an experienced midfield player this week, James. And maybe they need an experienced fullback or two, because they can't have them 2 wingers playing at fullback.
Oh, tell me about it.
Full stop, James. OK, players to watch. Jamie, who've you gone for? Xhaka.
Yeah.
Is he the future?
Yeah. He's played 1 Premier League game. He's only played 1 pre-season game for Liverpool. And he's looked really good in both games. But, sometimes when you look at a player and they just look the part, it could be any position. Sometimes you see a centre-forward or a midfield player and you just think he looks good. So you think you can almost envisage him being good. So he looks the part. And the reason I'm picking him as well as their one to watch is because I think this is the first season where a player alongside Van Dijk is going to have to play his own game and at times look after Van Dijk. I think we're at the stage now where Virgil van Dijk, for me, as an individual, he'll still be one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League, but he's going to need help, and he's not at the stage where I think he can look after other people. So when you think of Joe Gomez, you think of Matip, you think of Canate playing alongside Virgil van Dijk, I think they all looked 15-20% better than they actually are because they were playing alongside him. I don't think that's going to be the case with this lad.
Are you starting to imagine a life without Virgil van Dijk?
Yeah,
you referenced his age earlier as well.
Yeah, but I just think it might be interesting because I think his contract's up. He's obviously on a right few quid, and deservedly so. How Liverpool would bridge that, I think it's probably they wouldn't know now. They, see how he helps Xhaka. Got Leone coming through as well, and they'd probably buy someone next summer, I would imagine. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with Van Dijk in 12 months' time.
I was really impressed with Xhaka yesterday. I think you can spot a young defender who's got the balance and the poise and the way in which he passes the ball. They just set up. Sometimes you see a young defender and they're wiry, they're gangly. It's like their arms aren't connected to the hips and to the legs. And it's all like they're all over the place, and they haven't got the balance on the pitch. But he just looked like he was totally in control. Look, he'll make mistakes. He's young, but I really like the look of him. It takes a lot for me to say that about a young defender. You think, ooh, he looks like he's got a good thing going there.
What do you think Morgan Rogers could develop into as your player to watch?
Well, look, just the fee, and when you're a £120 million player, we've seen the way in which Jamie's spoken about Wirtz earlier on today. You've got to hit numbers. You've got to be 12, 15 goals. You've got to be 10, 12 assists, or else you're going to come under pressure. And this is, to me, we all sort of went, we know he's a good player, Morgan Rogers. We'd all like him at our clubs. We'd love him at United. You'd love him at Liverpool. But I think 120 million, wow. But I think that, to me, he's the player to watch, because I think if he can deliver this season for Chelsea, they can go and push Arsenal.
Should we change your predictions?
No. Look, tonight, to be fair, I think what we thought earlier on in the week, or what we thought in the last couple of weeks about Chelsea, we saw tonight what it was, and that's without Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo, who I think are incredible players, and fantastic midfield players. So you get them two in midfield, you have them three up front. You're going to do a lot of damage, because that's a fantastic front five. I mean, would it be?
Do you think they need to keep Enzo?
Would that front five be the best front five in the league? Caicedo, Fernandez, Rodgers and Palmer, and João Pedro. If you saw Arsenal with, Madueke or Saka or Havertz, and then you've got the boy Solis, and then you also got Declan Rice in midfield with, say, I'm trying to think, Lewis Skelly. I think you'd go for Chelsea's front five over most in the league, but the defence and the goalkeeper is not at the level of Arsenal's or City's, maybe.
There does seem to be this question still hanging over Enzo Fernandez, who got a lovely reception from Fulham fans tonight. I mean, he actually got difficult reception from Chelsea fans a couple of weeks ago. How crucial is it that Chelsea keep him, do you think? Or should they actually cash in?
I think they have to keep him. He's a brilliant football player, a brilliant player. And do you know something? I used to get booed at times at away grounds. I'm sure you did as well. I think that the idea of being booed is a sensational thing. It means that you really are. It doesn't mean that you're unpopular. I mean, it does. But what it actually means is, no, fans don't boo players who they don't care about.
They booed him because of the Argentina.
Yeah, I know, but they also, to be fair, boo him because of the fact that he's a bit of a. I can't use that word, can I?
What you used to get called?
Yeah. What I'm saying to you, can be a bit of a.
Well done for self-censoring.
You can rile people up, and you can wind people up, and you can get people going. And that's a personality, that's a character, that's someone who, to be fair, has got something about them. So I don't see being booed by Fulham fans as being a negative. I think that's a massive
positive. What did the Fulham fans sing to you?
The Nevilles can play.
Did you think the booing would stop when you retired?
Oh, no. I think I'll be the only bloke in history to get booed into my own funeral. They'll be carrying me into my funeral. Gary Neville.
We'll finish on manager to watch. And again, we're looking at a positive lens on this. You've got a little thing, a little twinkle in your eye for the Newcastle boss,
Hey,
Jamie.
I stayed in Newcastle last night.
He just asked me a question. Can he stop talking?
I'm just saying that.
You can talk underwater.
To be fair, I'll let you talk for the first hour and a half. I'm only here to do these predictions. You wheel me out once a year, at least let me have a chat. No, but he came in, he had something to eat in the restaurant.
Did you have a chat with him?
No, I didn't. Let him just relax. But also, it's interesting, you watch a manager walk in and you think to yourself, oh, he must be so gutted just to have conceded that goal in the 96th minute, but it was a good day for him. Anyway, carry on.
No, I not even yesterday. I just seen a couple of his press conferences. He's only young, but he's got that little twinkle in his eye. I think he'd be a fiery character in the Premier. I like that with managers. He was a bit like sharp and on the front foot with the lads on the. I think it was Daniel and Micah yesterday, wasn't it? In a good way. And there was just something about him. He's coming to Newcastle, huge football club, put in that performance yesterday. But I think he's got something about him. So
no Pep Guardiola, no Jurgen Klopp anymore. Could Xabi Alonso be one of those that rises up to fill that space?
If he gets the recruitment right and he keeps the players in those front areas of the pitch that I've just mentioned before, and he sorts the defence and the goalkeeper out, he could be the emerging manager out of that five that are below Mikel Arteta that are trying to win the league. He could be the next one to win the league. And that's why I think this season's critical for him, because he's got to finish second or a good third. Because if he doesn't finish second or a good third this season without Champions League football, with that squad that he's amassed, without European football, then there would be questions. But I actually believe that he will go and do it. I liked his interview tonight. You shouldn't read too much interviews, because sometimes managers do interviews well and sort of they can speak well. But I just thought he had a presence about him. But I'll be interested to see what he does in the next 8 or 9 days. And I throw back to what I said before. He's the manager of Chelsea. That means that he basically, I think, makes the final decision on transfers, on recruitment. It looks like he's sort of saying, look, you're not doing what you've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years. It comes through me. And I think if he goes and does 1 or 2 pieces of business in this next week or so, he's got to look after himself and demand that he gets that 1 or 2 players in this next week, and we know where those areas are.
Can I just have one more one to watch?
Go on.
Will you, wear them trousers again? Stand up.
Hey, why do you think I'm closing up there? Hey, I've gone for a wide trouser for the first time in...
Honestly,
hey,
he thinks he's Frank Worthington.
What you'll normally find is that Carroll will start wearing these in about 2 or 3 years. You'll catch up.
No, after Jamie Redknapp.
Yeah, Jamie Redknapp must have worn them 6 months ago and he's had a little go.
What did he say before? What did he say tonight before the show? He said, I've been told the Browns are right.
What's on the feet?
These. I went shopping.
Stand next to the
I went shopping on Saturday in London. This guy styled me. I tell you what, I think they're pretty cool, you know. Yeah.
Do the dance, Gary.
I tell you what, I like these. Yeah.
What are they, the bowling shoes?
These are big bowling.
We have descended into fast. Gary, shall we book you in now for the last one of the season? You can come back.
Yeah, to be fair, I was booked in for the last one of last season, but you kicked me out because you put Patrick Vieira in because Arsenal won the league. So, yeah, I'm happy, always happy to come in and do the... By the way, why have we not done who won the most points out of last year's predictions, which is what we normally do, because I actually won it again.
OK.
I won it 3 years on the bounce. You do know that, don't you?
Walkover. Yeah, I think Jamie's accepting it.
Absolutely, he knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nottingham Forest going down 2 seasons ago. They finished 6th.
Don't start.
And by the way, Sunderland could easily win the league this year.
Probably will. I'm encouraged by Jamie's prediction.